Underdog. Unleash the power within.
Jayson Waller here, true underdog. Listen, we've got a great podcast and YouTube channel for you today. First, let me tell you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is badass. You're going to catch some nuggets here. They're going to change the game. You're going to hear stories. You're going to get excited. There's emotion. It's real and it's raw. Also, subscribe at iHeartRadio, at Apple Podcasts, and or Spotify. If you don't like what we're putting out, unsubscribe. But right now, subscribe so you have it at the beginning. Now, we've got some cool guests right now. Super excited. I've got John LeBlanc, my co-host. No offense, you're not important, John. But we have got April Davis from Luma Matchmaking. Did I say that right?
You did. Thank you very much for having me. And John, you are important.
Oh,
thank you. Someone realized.
There it is.
Thank you.
So, listen, this is what's cool. I saw some of your stuff, and I want you to be able to tell the listeners and the viewers out there exactly who you are, what you're doing, what your business is doing, what you guys are about. I had the privilege to read about some of it, and I was like, this is pretty cool. This is next level. So I want you to share that with the listeners of what's going on and what they're in tune for here shortly.
Yeah, so I'm April Davis, and I'm from Minnesota. So this awesome accent that you're hearing, that's Minnesota. It's not Canadian. And what I did was, back when I was 16 years old, I ended up putting this couple together that ended up getting married. They were about twice my age, and I worked in this small cafe, and these two people would come in at different times, and eventually I got them there both at the same time and got them to sit with each other. And, they ended up getting married and living happily ever after. So fast forward 20 years later, now I've created this company. We're a nationwide agency. We put together people that are, usually it's busy professionals and executives, a lot of business owners, even some celebrities, and we help them to find that person that they're looking for a long-term, serious, committed relationship. And my background, my corporate background, I got my MBA, and then I pursued it's process improvement type endeavors within a corporate setting. And basically I took that process improvement background and applied it to dating, because everybody can tell you, anyone that's used these dating apps and sites, they'll tell you it sucks. It's hard. It's not fun. It's really brutal. And so they get tired of it, and they either give up or they just, it becomes like a job, and they end up getting kind of jaded about it. So what we are is an alternative, because they can outsource that whole process to us. And so we get to know our clients and then can help them to find that person. We set them up with them. So it's kind of like an executive recruiter, but for people's loved ones.
Executive recruiter, but for people's loved ones. I like it. So there's none of this swipe right, swipe left nonsense.
There's no swiping.
Okay.
Not at all.
So you said some celebrities. Are you allowed to talk about some of the past clients or no?
Well, yeah, I was on the Real Housewives of the OC, and Shannon Bedore was one of our people that we were setting up and matching. So people can see that. That's public. That was out there. I was on an episode too.
Okay, cool. So that's interesting. Minnesota, how's the weather right there in Minnesota right now?
It's been pretty hot the last couple of weeks. So
I didn't know Minnesota gets hot. I thought maybe
it has this year. So the summer has been 80s and even 90s.
Summer's nice,
but a lot of thunderstorms. So.
Super green in the summer there too, right?
It's very green. It is a lot like Michigan, I would say. We're close to the same line of.
Not as cold. You're colder.
How is
we have the record.
April, how has your business been doing through the pandemic, through the COVID-19? How has it affected business for you?
Initially, like everything, it dropped off. Everybody was scared. Nobody was doing anything. And March is usually one of our busiest months, because after Valentine's Day and it's cold, people want to find that person to hibernate with. And it dropped off because everyone was scared of, anything and everything. And people couldn't travel or anything. So then all of a sudden in June, it's just, as things have been opening up, we're busier now than we've ever been.
Oh, wow.
It's been kind of crazy, yes.
Why do you think that is?
Well, things are opening up, and I think people really had perspective once they were spending all this time alone and self-quarantining, basically, and they realized that it sucks. I mean, it's hard enough if you are in a relationship to be stuck at home, but then when you're completely alone, it's really tough. And I've heard some really, some stories that just really pull on your heartstrings for people that are trying to get through this time. And there's been a lot. I mean, now this is really dark, but there's been a lot of suicides, from this experiencing depression, especially, you take winter and that dark and dreary and you're stuck inside and you're alone, all these things. It makes people really reflect and realize what's important for them. And relationships are one of the most important things in your life. And if you're alone, especially during this time, it's scary. So people are wanting to get out.
I'm sure you feel really good. I mean, what we do, I run a company doing solar. I love what I do because it changes the world, but you're bringing love. You're bringing relationship. Think of the world we live in right now. There's a lot of hate. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of people getting sick, fear, all these things going on. Your business is booming and you are spreading love. That's pretty cool. I mean, I'm sure that kind of gets you and your staff pretty jacked up about what's going on, right?
Yeah, we're all very passionate about what we do and just helping people. I actually did this for fun for a year before I actually turned it into a business and charge people, just because I've always been a connector, just whether it was, connecting people for friends or business partners, or just you meet someone and you're like, you need to know this person. And it's the easiest way that you can make a huge impact in somebody's life. So if you think about who you know and the people that you're closest to, chances are somebody introduced you to them, and it's so important. I mean, whether some people are like, oh, I don't need people, or I'm an introvert, it doesn't matter. You're a human being, and you need social. We're social creatures, and we need to be with each other. So I think we're recognizing that now more than ever.
Connecting people, I think, is really important. What about what's the process like? Let's say I was single, which I'm not, or John was single, which he's not. Like, what would the process be? Like, how does that set up? It's because I would be intimidated. First of all, I've been married for a long time, and I wouldn't even know. I look at these young whippersnappers out there, and I'm like, they're on their phones doing this, and they have a lot of ponds to fish in to find a girl to date, but they never seem happy and they never seem satisfied. They always seem lonely, and they're not getting what they want. So what would happen?
They're always looking for the next best thing, and it's actually a real issue with the younger generation, because they don't really know how to connect. They're having a relationship with their phone. And there's a lot of those people that they're lonely. You see them out at dinner or different places together, and everybody's on their phone, right? And doing whatever on their phone. They're not actually engaging and having conversations. They don't know how to talk to each other and build those connections. So for them, it's definitely an issue. But we work a lot with people that are, divorced. And so say if I'm really excited for those people, because they're able to start all over again. Because
by the way, I want to make a comment. So a buddy of mine, I can't say who, John might know him too, recently got divorced. And everybody's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, bullshit. If he got divorced, he's happy. Like, congrats, high five. You got out of it. Go find love again. Isn't that right?
I feel that way because you chose that person that you were with for 20 years or whatever, however long you were with them. You chose them when you were probably in your 20s. And you're a completely different person today than you were back then. Your values or what you value today is a lot more important than what drove your decision to choose that person back then also. And oftentimes you hear just people, they grow apart and they don't have the same goals any longer. They don't have the same values. And now you get a chance to start over. And it's just fun. It's exciting for them because it's kind of like being back in your 20s again. And you get to just experience life from a different scope altogether. So I think it's a great time. And I always am super excited for them to start over again.
Someone that gets divorced, that calls you guys, that sets this up, you do an assessment or you do some interviews? How does that work?
We meet with them. We go through and we basically initially we are qualifying them to make sure that they are somebody that we can work with and they're realistic, that they, are actually ready to date and they're over their ex, and it's just going to be a good fit both ways. We do get some people that, I always say we're matchmakers, not miracle workers. And this isn't build a boyfriend, or build a boyfriend. So there's a lot of people that look at dating as if they're buying a car and you get to pick out what features you want in this person, just like when you're buying a car. And that's not how a relationship works. And you have to be open-minded as to what kind of package that person can come in, because you don't necessarily want to date your twin. You want your complement and that person that helps to, complete you, right? And so it's getting people, past those, it's basically their own thoughts that are limiting them, their limiting beliefs that need to be with a certain type of person. And that's what ends up making them be single for so long, oftentimes. So anyway, so once we go through that and they become a client, then we go even deeper. And we want to learn about their past relationships, what's worked for them, what hasn't. Oftentimes you see patterns people don't even recognize in themselves. And, what's the definition of doing the same thing over and over again? Expecting different results, right? Insanity. So we want to stop the insanity, and, we hold them accountable to that and want to make sure that they're going after the right type of person for them. And then from there, we'll also do a personality assessment, and this will help them to not only understand themselves, but also understand how they are with other people in relationships. So my team, we do an annual retreat, and I bring in speakers. And this last year we had Dr. Brenda Schaefer. She's a psychologist and author, and she taught us about this personality assessment. And really, it also helped us to recognize, because we've been doing this for so many years, that certain personalities tend to have the same kinds of issues time and time again in relationships. So it's, for example, if your personality type is a helper, you tend to date people that are fixer-uppers, and you want to help them. You want to make them better. And so we will, help the client to recognize that and make sure that they're not dating that kind of person, and we're not going to set them up with that kind of person, that they're actually going to date somebody that is healthy, and so they can have a healthy, happy relationship. So anyway, from there, we do an in-depth search. And so on average, we end up interviewing about 50 people per client. So it's like as matchmakers, we're going on those 50 first dates for them, so they don't have to. And it's, it's very time consuming, but it's about creating a pipeline of potential matches for our clients. And then we'll select who we're going to set them up with from there. And we plan the date and everything. Nowadays, we're doing a lot of virtual dates, as you can imagine. But typically, we try to get people to do something fun on the date, not just, dinner where they're sitting across the table feeling like they're in an interview. It's more something, it could just be going for a walk, or
like a Top Golf or something.
That would be an awesome date. A lot of people love going golfing, especially, both people have some experience or don't. If you're on the same skill level, that's awesome. Anything like that could be fun. Instead of to do archery, it's something active.
Yeah.
Right.
That's cool. So do you guys just have this large network, this large pool of people? So you get one assessment that comes through, this guy looking for, maybe he doesn't know, right? But you're like, all right, he took this assessment. This is who he is. It sounds like there's a little coaching in there too that you guys do.
So all the matchmakers have training as life coaches too, and they use their years of experience to just
like the movie Hitch. You see the movie?
Yeah,
That's what it reminds me of, like Hitch.
Yeah, but we don't have the earpiece telling them what to do.
Right. But
we will help them figure out what to wear. We've even taken clients shopping.
Wow.
They'll send us pictures of what their date outfit is, and they'll be like,
it's more like Hitch than you know.
Yeah. Well, something like that. And then we will get feedback from both people and relay the feedback to them, and
that's all.
Their best foot forward. Sometimes we've even had to do these people that haven't had a lot of dating experience. We'll do, I call it a pseudo date. So we just practice, what are you going to talk about on the date? Pretend like you're on the date and do what you normally do. And then we can give them feedback from there. And we'll use somebody else on the team, not their matchmaker that they're already always working with. So that way it just gives them just a better experience. And then it's, everything within our control that we can try to help them with. It just depends on the client and what their needs are. But one thing you said is that, sometimes they don't even know what they're looking for. And that's also part of our job too. And that's where we discover in their history of dating, what's worked for them, what hasn't. Sometimes it's easier for them to articulate what they don't want. So we can kind of decipher that as well for them and help them realize, okay, this is important for you going forward. So.
I'm sure that you guys surprise people where people, like you said, they think they want one type of personality or one type of person. Like, hey, I want someone young and vibrant that wants to travel the world, and she's got to be a 10. I'm giving an example.
Yeah.
But then they talk to them and they're like, oh, well, I can't. Yeah, bam, I'm done. I can't even keep a 5-minute conversation. I'm bored.
Yeah.
Stop, check, please. Like,
and what's your daughter going to think? That's all.
Right. Yeah. Oh, and then there you go. Like, now you got to deal with that. But I think that you guys doing that assessment, really coaching and going through this makes a lot of sense, because on an app, people, they don't know them. They're going based on pictures. They're going based on text. I've got a 21-year-old daughter that's engaged to my future ex-son-in-law. That's what I call him. So for the listeners, they know who I'm talking about. And then I've got a granddaughter, so I call myself a GILF. They know that too. But and then I've got 3 other kids. And, I watched my daughter before she, met Alex, and, going through these apps. And I'm just like, this is so crazy. And I've got friends that are recently divorced. And one married someone 15 years younger than him. And he seems like he's living his best life. He goes out, travels the world. She's like the age of his oldest son, or almost the age of his oldest son, a little bit older. But that is rare, because I have like 4 other guys that have tried that route, and it just never works. And I'm always like, you probably need someone you can communicate with and that has your same intelligence or things like that. And they can't find that stuff on apps.
Yeah. So what ends up happening a lot of times is these guys go get divorced, and then they end up hooking up with a younger lady, having a kid, and then it obviously doesn't work out. And then they're suddenly trying to date women closer to their own age, but they have this kid with, that could be almost their grandchild's age, and yeah, it's tough. I always say 15, I feel like, is about where the rubber band's about to snap, as far as age range. And if you can keep it closer, that's always seems to be more likely that it's going to work out more long term.
I just turned 40. I don't see what I would have in common with someone like 22. Like that wouldn't even have a conversation. No offense to the 22-year-olds out there. It would just be hard to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Life experience you need, like that wisdom of, I've been doing life for a little longer. I get it. Would be my opinion. But you're right. That's what you see. And those apps, I think, lead them down the wrong path, because I know several guys that are divorced that are still looking all the time, and they're not happy.
Well, dating is a marketplace, supply and demand. So that 20-year-old is supplying something that the 40-something-year-old is demanding, and vice versa. So, and I mean, it's if that's what you want, if that's the kind of arrangement that you want, but if you want somebody that really appreciates you for you and not necessarily their assets of whichever kind.
And a lot of your clients, they're higher end, right? This is someone who's going to invest in finding true love or a true relationship. And they're either famous or, they're established, and you match them to other genders that are the same. Like, what I mean is like a female that's successful and a male that's successful, or how does all that work?
It depends on what people want. I don't hear a lot of men coming to us and saying, I need somebody else that I make, $500,000 a year. I need somebody that makes $500,000 a year. That typically isn't what I hear from guys. They want, I explain this all the time to people, is that a guy that's very successful and driven, kind of alpha personality type, he is like that at work all day long. He doesn't want to necessarily have to go home and compete with somebody else that has that same kind of personality type. He wants a softness, femininity. Well, and I always say, like, if you wanted that masculine type of personality, he'd be gay. He doesn't need to. He wants a woman that's, going to be his complement and stuff, not his twin. And so it depends on what they're looking for. And a challenging thing for women, in that kind of, if you're a successful woman, oftentimes we have clients that are, like lawyers and CEOs and that are women, and they have to have that alpha masculine personality all day long. And we coach them about, turning it off when they're at home, because again, a guy doesn't necessarily want that. If he did, he'd be dating another guy, because he can get that all day.
Right.
And so, and also, it's just how the gender roles have changed over the years. That can be tricky to navigate. So we'll talk a lot about that with most people as well. So it comes down to people having the chemistry is what they're looking for, and you have to have the right pieces together. And sometimes it can be somebody that's your own age, or it can be somebody that's 10 years younger than you. Because if you're really active, you're really outgoing, it can be harder to find someone that's your age that has that same level of energy stuff. So you might need to date somebody younger.
Do you ever get somebody that comes through that, especially with your experience now, you've been doing it a little while, you're like, probably not going to make this one work. I come from the health and fitness field. So when I had a client come through with all these wants and I saw where they were at, Jayson knows this best, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
want a magic pill.
By the way, just to catch you up, April, just to catch you up, he used to be my trainer. He got fired because, it didn't really work out.
It just wasn't working.
So now he joined the company as a national training director when he used to be my trainer. So just so you're caught up here.
Gotcha.
So I'd get caught up in those instances, but I would imagine you would too, right? You probably have people come through that just aren't willing to put forth the call it effort, right? To
right.
Or be coached.
Well, or just have realistic expectations, and I've had to tell people that, I don't think that I can help you. And they get mad and they argue with me like, no, I can get this kind of person. I have got this kind of person, right? This is who I need. And I'm like, I'm sure you have, but I can't help you with that. I mean, we just can't deliver that. I mean, I don't know what other arrangement that you got going on, or what site you were on that you got it from, but that's not something we can do. So it's just being realistic with people, and we don't take everyone on as a client. Therefore,
so you pick, if you get several applications, you'll pick the few that fit into your establishment that really create that. Then it's not just we take everybody. You actually choose and pick who will fit who you think you can place, correct?
Yeah, and actually we have a waiting list right now because we can only take on so many clients at a time, because we only work with each matchmaker has about 15 to 20 clients. So it's a white glove boutique type of agency. And
how many matchmakers do you have?
Currently there's 4 on my team that we're working with. And they, because after everyone else, COVID and everything died, I had to let some people go. And then now I'm trying to get my staff going again and catch up to everything. And at the same time, I don't want to take on too many clients and they're not going to get the kind of service that they need.
Is this an international service, or is it really just, USA?
It's just the US. I mean, we do have some clients that travel outside of the US or they might be from elsewhere, but they just want to date people in the US. So we are only sourcing people locally.
So you get a lot of people internationally that want to date people in the US?
Not a lot, but there's some.
Yeah. I could see it the other way around, but not that way. But hey, I guess
too. Yeah.
It depends on cultures and different things. Yeah, I've had a lot of women. Well, it's been predominantly women that contact us from outside of the U.S. that want to be in our database or something, and we're not that kind of service. So it's been interesting though. I had a client. He was traveling and he was in Italy actually, and then it was funny because our travel schedules. I was going to Italy the following week, and he signed up while he was in Italy, and then I met him there. Basically, got off. It was in Venice, so you take a ship to get to the island area, and so I met him that night at St. Mark's. So it was pretty cool to meet a client, in Venice, Italy, that happened to be there, and then eventually came back to the States, and we were able to set him up with people there. But it's just neat how there's some parts that are international. Anyway, I get it. But most of our clients, they're people that want to travel and stuff.
So when you opened this business, you had this idea, you liked what you did, you wanted to, you said, hey, this is something that I love. I can turn this into a business that I can be a part of, that I'm passionate about, and that can be profitable. And so, what kind of hardships, what kind of challenges have you gone through? What kind of things have you had to overcome, and that you could share with the listeners and the viewers of, hey, look, it's not just as easy as I did this and that's it. What were some of the struggles you had?
Well, of course, everyone thinks, matchmaking would be so fun and glamorous and everything. But, you're dealing with people and you're dealing with a very sensitive topic, especially with egos. Everybody sees themselves the way they were when they were 20 years old. They don't look in the mirror and they see the 50-year-old anymore. And they still like think that, this is a bad day. I still look like I'm, 20 or something. And if I had $1 for every time that somebody told me that, everyone tells me I look younger than I am, and that I would be very, very great. I don't need to do this anymore. But the thing is that, these people, and what we do is it is so personal. So it makes it really definitely very challenging. And the biggest challenge to begin with was creating our database, just having the right kinds of matches for people. And that was part of the reason why I didn't charge for the service to begin with. For the first year that I was doing that, I was just building up my network and meeting with people for hours. I had my corporate job, and then after work, I would go and meet people in a coffee shop and just person after person, let's line them up basically and interview them and get them into our database. And then they tell their friends. And eventually that wheel just kept spinning and spinning and getting bigger and bigger and faster and faster. And we've grown now to be nationwide.
So when you started, you had mentioned at one point that this was kind of for fun, but you were at the same time you were building this database. So during that time, during that building phase, did you know that this was going to turn into a business, or did it just kind of?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I had it planned that I was going to be, nationwide. And I've even thought of going international, but I recognize there's other challenges with that nowadays. Not just with laws and everything, but culturally, there's a lot of challenges. And it's not easy managing a virtual team either. So it's all about people. That all of my matchmakers that work for me, I only hire people that have been in the industry. And so they know because there's a lot of dreamers. There's a lot of people that think, it'd be so fun to be a matchmaker. I set up my friends. And it's more of a customer service type of job. And it's really, and being an expert at this and understanding and being really patient with people and passionate and just wanting to help, having that care kind of personality type. So I make sure like everyone that works for me, they have, I think the minimum years of experience now on my team is about 5 to 25 plus years. So I'm one of the younger ones on my team, actually. With 10. Yeah.
What is the craziest person you had to place? What's the craziest?
Well, okay, I wouldn't take them.
Oh my goodness, right?
Okay, I wouldn't take them if they were too crazy. So, but I've had some very, celebrity billionaire type that was like kind of like a Donald Trump. Imagine a Donald Trump type, and taking him as a client and trying to find his match. Now that was challenging to say the least, but we did it. We did it, and I was able to finally sleep after.
What is your success rate?
With over 80% of our clients end up in a relationship.
Wow,
that's good.
That's really.
They don't all get married and. But they end up in a relationship, and that's our goal. Our part is to get them at least in front of someone that they're attracted to, they want to be with, and they can be in a relationship with.
Yeah, you're not the Bachelor. You don't need to marry them off. They need to find someone they like. They can hang out with.
There's not a timeline. You must be engaged within 6 months. No. In fact, it's the opposite. We always say that you should know someone and date someone for a year. So that way you see them in every season and stuff before you.
In your database, do you have more female clients or male clients?
There's more females in our database. It's about 70% women.
It's always good for the males then, I guess, huh?
Yeah, exactly. But
Does the thing shift? Is it always heavy on?
I think it's the same for almost all matchmakers.
Really? Wow.
It's opposite for dating apps and sites. You have mostly guys on there, and the women get turned off and run away pretty quickly. But the women, what I think why it's this way is that women are more the romantic types, and they hear of a matchmaker and they're like, oh yes, my man is looking for me and he's going to hire a matchmaker and he's going to find me. And so that's why they reach out to the matchmaker, and they'll be in our database, and it's no charge just to be in there. And men can too. Anyone can be in just the database. There's no guarantee that they'll ever be selected, but at least we have the opportunity to select them. But I think there's more women that like that idea. But also there was that TV show, The Matchmaker, And those are on women's networks. So that put a lot of attention on our industry and for women, of course. So I think every matchmaker, it's the same way. But that's why I've created this, my background's in process improvement. So I've created our own proprietary system of recruiting guys just for us, for our women that are clients of ours. And it's a way just to help, just like any company that needs to recruit. John, you're in the training and HR side of things, and trying to find the right people can be challenging.
Yeah, it's important.
One thing you mentioned earlier that, you do all these tests, but you still need them to get interviewed and go on dates and talk to people. It's kind of like when we hire folks. I don't believe in resumes. That may get you an interview, but we hire on passion. We hire on, what is their why? How hungry are they? It's just not just a job. We don't care. We can teach skill. And that's almost similar to what you're doing there is you're like, look, they got to meet and it's got to have chemistry. It doesn't matter what this piece of paper, this picture says. They've actually got to mingle and make sure that there's a fit, correct?
I think it's the attitude, absolutely. If you can be overweight, average looking, but if you have a great personality and attitude, you're going to be a magnet for people. Everyone's going to want to be around you. And then, of course, the opposite's true. If you're very attractive, but your personality sucks, no one's going to want to hang out with you. Or maybe just for a little bit and then get away from you, basically. So
I have this saying that John knows I'm about to say, this attribute saying. So hear me out, okay? So I believe all people are equal. We all get 100 attributes. Stay with me. And God says, okay, looks, you're going to get a 9. And intelligence, you're going to get a 6. And height, you're going to get a 4. And strength, you're going to get a... I believe that there's all these dynamics. That's why you have this personality needs something like this that fits because they're almost opposite. And I've been a big believer of you get a lot of these, not all, and I'm not saying this, but some people that look too good, they usually have bad. I'm a big believer. Guys with abs are assholes, right? Because they only care about themselves. So they're all, look, I have a dad bod. I'm good with that. They're always trying to just worry about getting a 6-pack. So I'm a big believer of like, look, that's how that is. No one's going to change.
Their lack of carbs depletes their brain. Your brain is a fat.
Intelligence.
Yeah. So when they're lacking somewhere else, that's just my opinion. But then you'll see it sometimes in women too. Someone will be predominantly, wow, she's gorgeous. Oh, she can't communicate well. You can't talk to her. Or you have this. Would you say that my assumption overall?
Unless she's a unicorn like me.
To their own thing. I get that. And those are rare. Very rare.
Very rare.
But my point is in most cases, would you say that that's pretty true?
Yeah. Have you seen the Crazy Hot Matrix?
Yeah.
That's what I'm referring to. You'll have to Google it. It's funny. This guy breaks it down. Like there's a scale of hot and crazy. So the hotter she is, the crazier she gets.
Oh boy. Unless
she's a unicorn, which doesn't exist, right? So that's where that's come from. But
funny.
I'll say for the most part, categorically, I'd say you're right. But everybody has a story. And I think that when people if they have a lot of hardship in their life, that humbles them a lot. But then you also deal with a lot of people that might have emotional problems and stuff. But if they go after it and they deal with it and they get counseling or they read books or do whatever it is that they need to address those issues, they can come out all right. Because I've met a lot of people that I'm just like, wow, I can't believe that you're this successful or whatever you are, beautiful, and you still have this nice person. You're still a good person, and you're not a narcissist. Actually, you're for real a good person and stuff.
Right.
There are some great people out there, but typically they've had some hardship in their life, and that's what's humbled them and kept them grounded too.
And you mentioned grow apart. I mean, usually you see people could have healthy relationships. They grow apart, they get divorced, but they both want to be happy, right? So they move on in those chapters. You see a lot of that happening, I'm assuming, as well, with people trying to reach out to you and find a way to get their happiness instantly. Do you usually give them a timeline? Because if someone gets divorced, usually I think there's a period of A, they have to heal, I would think, or B, maybe they're already done, but then now they don't want to be lonely. Do you assess like a gap of what you should do?
Yeah, well, I typically tell people you should be single for 1 month for every year that you were with somebody. So if you're married for 10 years, be single for a month. Or just date. You can date, but don't get pulled down.
So if I'm married 19 years and I get divorced, I got to wait 19 months?
Just date for a while. And there's some people that, okay, your divorce takes 2 years. So you might not even be divorced yet, and you're going to be out there. But everybody's different. And I think it depends. There's a lot of, there's studies around, and men especially, they do better in relationships. It's not good on them. They die earlier if they're single, and it's really not good for their health. And so I see a lot of times men can move on quicker than women, and even when they're widow situations too. But I think it just depends, of course, on the person. But I've seen some people that it takes them about 3 or 4 years, and when they're widowed, to be able to move on. Versus divorce, usually people are like, "Get me out of here, I'm good." And it also depends on where their ex is at. Sometimes if their ex has moved on, that gets them more motivated to move on quicker as well.
Wow.
Yeah. It's interesting, but I feel like I've received a degree in psychology just by doing this job, because I
would imagine like a lot of your attention and even self-development, self-learning has to be at least there for your team, right? That's kind of what makes you guys successful. Yeah,
we do a lot of I'm constantly reading and listening to books and just different things. But also another key to my success is the fact I'm married to a divorce attorney. So it's a really different perspective on everything and insight on a lot of different things. So actually we were dating before I started the company. So I would hear all these, these stories about how these people ended up getting divorced and why it had happened. And so that I'm able to take that and teach clients too. Okay, no, you don't want to do this. And you want to be with somebody that has your same values. I always talk about values, because those are something that you cannot change. You're always going to, they're who you are. A lot of times people, especially in the beginning phase of a relationship, because we're humans, we're designed to, our brains change when we first are attracted to something, we first start dating someone, and it makes people want to mate. So you ignore all these red flags that you shouldn't. And then eventually that will wear off, and you would still, oh yeah, I can't be with somebody that's atheist and I'm, a strong Christian or something like that. So I try to help people recognize that up front so they don't end up getting hurt or hurting someone else in the process.
That's smart. You said, you have to meet all these people. Do some of your matchmakers and yourself go through here? And I guess the first question is, are any of your matchmakers single?
There's one that's on the team that's single.
So that would be my question. Is it hard for someone like that, who also may be looking for love, that meets someone and goes, wow.
Yeah, well.
Could that happen?
Oh, where she meets somebody that is a client of ours and she wants to date them, or?
Yes.
Well,
preferably not, but could realistically
they're not allowed to. They're not allowed to date any of our clients.
But isn't it hard when they're hearing people's? I mean, I'm just trying to put myself in that shoe. Like I'm hearing this person's story and how great they are and how they've been through this and they're lonely, and I'm just saying. And then if I was single, it's like how naturally it's like, oh. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
You connect with them. You absolutely connect with them, and you care.
That's what I mean. Like, does that connection get hard, especially for those who are single? Like,
because you're passionate and you want everybody. We're helpers, right? We want to help them. We want to do the best we can. But at the end of the day, it's just like a psychologist. If somebody goes to a psychologist or therapist for help, time and time again, they can only do so much. You can tell them, you can give them advice, you can try to help them, but ultimately, they have to swing and hit the ball, hit it out of the
That's a good way to put it. That puts it in perspective for me, because you're right, because they're not going to date someone they're talking to, but they connect with them. So that goes.
Yeah. Oh, we totally. I mean, I have some clients that are, they're probably going to be lifelong friends now, because I just, you get so close to them and you're talking to them all the time, and they're friends.
Well, I think what's really cool, April, is not only what you guys are doing, spreading love and building relationships in today's world, but, you're building a business that you're passionate about, and you've got a team that's helping people. And it sounds like you guys are, you're breaking records this month, it seems like, and doing things that you didn't anticipate doing. So, what does the future look like? What are the plans for like the next couple of years? Where do you guys see you and your business going?
Well, we're going to continue to grow. We're going to actually this year we are on the Inc. 5000.
Oh, high five! Are you going to go to the thing? 'Cause we'll be there.
No, well they're not having it this year.
Oh, is it virtual this year?
It's going to be virtual. Yeah, unfortunately, that was when we were going to do our annual retreat in San Antonio. I wanted to.
Congrats on that. That's a big deal.
Yes.
So congrats on that.
Yeah. So we made that, but I don't think that's going to happen next year because of COVID. I don't know how too many businesses that's going to.
You guys are growing right now, so it could happen because it's based on a 3-year run rate.
Yeah, but I mean, when our busiest time of the year has already passed us, so we'll see. I don't know. We'd have to. It would be pretty crazy for the next. It might. I mean, we have been pretty busy, so we'll see what happens. But the biggest bottleneck for us, though, it's not even necessarily people that want the service or even want to use the service. It's me finding the right people from my team that can help to provide the service. And so we have a really close-knit group. And I always say we're like the football team that we were handing, or the relay team that's handing off the baton to each other, because we have to work virtually, but we have to be really close and make sure that, when you're working with women, it's important to have people that aren't gossipy, and especially with women, I should say, because it's every gender, we're both gender, but it's you got to have good team players, and so that and experience and just people's heart and motivation in the right place. So that's really right now. That's just finding good people for our team.
Are all your employees female?
We have one guy on our team.
You really? Wow.
John, you trying to leave me and go to their team? Just let me know now, dude.
No, I'm just wondering, man. Just backup plan, I guess, right?
There's always a chance.
I would imagine, though, that females probably have more success just because of...
Yeah, well, women, for the most, a lot of times they're more intuitive and stuff. Sometimes almost too intuitive. Yeah, there are some guys that really are in touch with that and can get. I think my husband is that way actually. Where it's interesting. Sometimes we'll go to an event and we both are almost. You pick up on things almost too much. We're like, I don't want to know this. I don't want to have these ideas. We're super. You're just really sensitive to that kinds of people's personality types and stuff, which is good in what I do because I need to be able to read people. And understand.
What would you read about John here? Go ahead. How would you break John down in a quick, 60-second, this is who John is, blah, blah, blah. But
the 10 words that he's said to me thus far. Yeah. I think John is very humble, down to earth, very hardworking. I think he's very loyal too. I'm guessing that he is. And grounded, has good values. I said he was hardworking already. And I said humble. I would say something you can tell you're probably a family guy. And I think what else? Probably engineering type mindset. Where he's processing and thinking versus he's probably not the social butterfly life of the party.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. What would you say about Jayson?
Oh, Jayson. Well, Jayson also, I'd say, is a family guy, but he's different from you in that he's very much outgoing and very extroverted, but his value system is that the family, the hard work ethic, very driven, and he's also that challenger type personality on the Enneagram test, that you would be somebody that just gets stuff done, is super driven, kind of flamboyant, kind of out there. Not
a little flamboyant, I like it.
A little bit. Yeah. What gives it away?
She's seen the shoe and belt collection, that's all.
Yeah, but I think you have good values though at the core. Like you're very loyal. You take care of your people, and somebody tells you can't do something, you're gonna pour hot water on if you're getting it done.
Got it down to a T.
Sure. She's probably listened to all the podcasts. Just told us she.
I just part of it is I can tell people's personality types, and then I'm
That's good.
saying off from there what type you are.
You're pretty spot on with both.
But John, I don't swing that way. But if I did, you might be my guy because we're like opposites, dude.
I know. We kind of would attract to each other, right?
Well, it's probably why you have a good business relationship.
We do. Yeah. And my business partner, Kevin, is the complete opposite of me. And that's what really works because he sees things right here and he's very, hey, the world's on fire. It's fine. Or I'm like, dude, the world's on fire. I know it's fine. Like, it's the best thing I like about him. It's the worst thing I like. I'm like, dude, you got to like wake up. But he's so positive. Where I'm like, go, now. And I see far, and I never stop. I don't.
You're the visionary, yeah. And he's the tactical, gets maybe operations type or something.
Yeah.
They call it integrator.
That's really good. That's impressive. So
impressive.
Let's do this. Let's share with everyone how they can find your business at Luma Luxury Matchmaking. Where do they go if they're looking for love or if they're looking to get in the database? How do they find you guys?
They just can go to our website. It's lumasearch.com. And Luma stands for Luxury Matchmaking. So LUMA search.com, and fill out the form. And then they'll set up a time to meet with one of the matchmakers and go from there.
Cool. And John, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'm impressed. I didn't, I would have imagined with all the apps that have come out and just like the quick hitch type of mentality, I didn't know there was anything out there like this that was sort of loved and cool experience.
Yeah, with what you're saying with the underdog type thing. So here, we're a service. It's a boutique, white glove type of service. Whereas you have these apps that are quick. I want to order up a person, and whereas
it's more like a booty call on the app is what it seems.
Yeah, if you can make it work for you, then you might get a booty call. But it's a lot of superficial type of.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah, and it's all about the photos. Whereas people that come to us, they actually want a real relationship. They don't want a gold digger. They don't want someone that is just going to want to hook up and stuff. They want the real person for them.
What a cool business.
This is inspiring. I think I'm saying, I honestly think it's cool what you're doing. I think it's important that there's something out there, especially for our generation, not the younger generation. They need to get on this because you're right. They're texting and messaging, and then they'll sit at dinners and they don't know how to communicate. They'll send a little smiley face or something like, just talk to the person. They don't understand.
It's funny you say that. We will literally, I've written out text messages. And I'm like, here, send her this or send her this exact wording. This is what you need to do. But it's
hard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad I'm not. But if I were, I'd be calling you guys. That's a fact because I couldn't do this thing. That wouldn't work.
Yeah, it's very exhausting. I tried to help some people before with it, and I'm like, just forget it. This is way too much work because you have to build the rapport with them. You have to message back and forth. You can't just be like, hey, let's meet. You have to actually build somewhat of a superficial connection.
And there's so many apps you would think they're diluted. Like it's the same people in the same app.
Well, and they buy profiles. These apps, a lot of them just have fake profiles on them. They get in trouble every once in a while. And I've
heard that.
Yeah.
I got a buddy of mine say they're like half the girls aren't real.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and then there's scammers and people that live in Nigeria trying to get you to send them money.
I'm going to cut out my kidney. I'm going to end up in a hotel.
There's that. Yeah.
But okay. I don't want that problem.
Yeah. Well, I actually found this recently. I found this this app. It's from this company, Katana, where they will put this app on your phone, and it has like a little chip piece in it, where if you have an issue, if you need to call 911, you can't call 911. You just push this thing, and it sends out an alert, and it has an alarm going off on it and everything. And I think every woman needs to get that thing. It's amazing because if you can't get your mace or your gun or whatever to protect yourself, go like that. That's one thing that I've been telling everybody about that's on dating and stuff. Unless you're going through us, you don't do that. But
yeah, right. LumaSearch.com, right?
Yes, LumaSearch.
Okay. Thank you, April, for joining us on the podcast and the YouTube channel. Again, you guys can subscribe. TrueUnderdog.com, True Underdog Podcast. It's badass. Hear April's story. Hear about LumaSearch. Find your mate. Find your lover. Build that relationship. Check them out. You can also check out the podcast at iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. Bam!
Bam.
True Underdog. Unleash